Good morning, everyone. It's Amy from Mimi Stitchery. Today is Saturday. Let's see, what is it? November 26th. Welcome to my channel. You have stumbled across my Flosstube channel. It's a channel about mostly cross stitch, sometimes some knitting, sometimes some quilting. Have a little bit of knitting today, and sometimes a life update. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We had a very nice family Thanksgiving. If you've been around the channel enough, you know that my husband's from a fairly large family that stays fairly well connected. We do weekly family nights and weekly breakfast on Saturday morning. So it's a large Thanksgiving gathering. So as many people, I have eaten too much, need to eat less now and get back on the wagon. But yeah, we had a good time. My mother was there. Three of my kids, one of my children lives out of state, and so she spent Thanksgiving with her family in the state of her current residence. Yeah, one of my grandbabies was there. The other one wasn't feeling well, so she stayed home with her dad. So she's feeling better now, so we're thankful for that. And we had a good day. It was lots of good food, lots of good talk, and fun. It's always just fun. Tomorrow is the annual cookie baking day at my house where my kids, the local kids, and their significant others if they want to, the grandkids if they want to, my mom, my sister come and we bake Christmas cookies, and then everybody has some to freeze for the holiday. And so it's just a fun day. So tomorrow will be nice as well. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you find something that you like. I get consistent new subscribers every week. So I don't know what's happening, whether I'm being shouted out somewhere, because I don't really know. And I haven't had time to watch a ton of Flosstubes as of late. And sometimes, honestly, I have them running, but I'm doing other stuff, so I may miss things. So if you shouted me out and you watch my channel, thank you so much for the shout out. I do appreciate it. I'm getting tons and tons of comments, so in comparison to what it was. So I'm super liking that too. I have not responded to comments as of yet because of the holiday. I have hearted and liked them all, though, as they come through. I try to remember to do that so you know I've seen it. I have gotten several of you ask questions about my modern folk embroidery, so I have it here with me again today. We will hold that up and I will tell you all the specifics of that. So welcome. I hope you guys like what you see. Okay, so let's save the modern folk embroidery towards the end. I will do a WIP update first. So I have a WIP update. What I've been working on this week. I have one knitting WIP that I've been working on that has a little explanation with it. And I guess I have some plans. I do have some plans. I'm still on the fence about the haircut. Thank you, everybody that's commented about my haircut. Everybody loves it, although I don't know if people would really pipe up if they didn't like it. Everybody loves it. I'm still on the fence. I think mainly because it's nowhere near as easy for me to do now. So as women, we can all appreciate that, right? Before, you guys saw it most of the time. I either had the bangs clipped back or I had it up in a bun or a ponytail or something. And it was just easier. This involves the curling iron every day. Although I don't, okay, full disclosure, I'm naturally gray. I do not wash my hair every day because if I did, it would be a big like fuzzy puffball on top of my head. So we don't do that. But it is the curling iron every day, which then makes me feel like I need to put makeup on because if you've got hair that's done, it's kind of weird for me to have no makeup on. And I don't wear a lot to begin with. So anyway, it's just a little more work in the morning. So I think that's the only reason I'm on the fence about it because I think overall I like it. I get enough compliments on it that I know it looks good. Yeah, it's just weird. You know how it goes, right? Hell to be a woman, I guess. But let's start with the WIPs. Enough chit-chatting. First WIP I'm going to show you is my daily, I'm going to call it my 25/7 piece because that's what they called it on Facebook. Although I'm calling it my 25/7 piece. I am not active on social media as much as I'd like to be. So for me, like, I'm always jealous of Candace K. If you're not watching her, take a look at her YouTubes. And Hannah Dowling does the same thing. They post pretty, I want to say pretty religiously in social media. Like if they're part of groups on Facebook and I'm part of those groups, I see them posting. I am not good at doing that. I'm not good at remembering to do that. I'm just not good at doing it. So it's my 25/7 piece. I'm not really active in the group, so there's that. But my 25/7 piece is my Lost No More. It's a gold collection kit. It's pretty beat up. This kit is out of print. I did pick it up in the 90s, started it in the 90s, and put it away while I raised some kids. And it's recently come back out. My goal with this one, just because we're nearing the end of the year, and pretty soon I'm going to do a WIP parade. My goal with this one was to have this done this year. Sorry, I just knocked my laptop. It's not going to get done this year. So I've come to grips with that. I'm stitching this on the kit fabric with the kit floss, and it's stuck on something at the moment. There we go. With the kit floss, using the old-fashioned paper pattern, which I have to say, okay, I'm just going to flash this up here because then you'll appreciate it. Old paper pattern. It is hard to read, especially when you're like me and your eyesight's not great to begin with. I have a trifocal in my glasses, and without proper lighting or magnification, I don't stitch on much. Some counts I can do in proper lighting, but more often than not, especially at night, I'm probably using some sort of magnification. So I find that this is probably not done because the chart's so difficult for me to read. But I've been stitching this in hand. Hold on, I got a needle minder holding it together. And this is where I am. Forgive the curled up. I had it curled up so I could stitch. So I'm holding it back here so you can get the full appreciation. Gosh, every time I hold this up, I say it every week, so you guys have to be sick of hearing it. It just looks really good. So much better than it looks close up. Because close up, I have to be honest with you, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week or not. One of those colors in the rock is the wrong color. Right in this rusty color here, it's the wrong color. And I decided I'm not going to rip it out because when you hold it back here, it looks just fine. And I think when the back stitching goes in here, it'll look perfect. But I did get to, this is the back side of the sheep. So this sheep right here. Sorry, my screen keeps dimming. This sheep right here. This is right here. And then I filled in here a little bit. So I'm going to continue to work in the sheep and fill in this bottom part. This still needs some time today. On the weekends, it's kind of a crapshoot whether I stitch on this at all. I'm not sure I will today. We'll see. But gosh, he looks good. I would say I'm probably at least 2/3 of the way done. I think once I get this all filled in underneath the staff and down, it's safe to say that I'm about 75%. And could I get there by the end of the year? Maybe. I have been toying with the idea of taking this out of my 25/7 piece and putting a smaller WIP that I have in the 25/7 and putting this in a more clear rotation for my stitching times, like my full coverage, other full coverages are for 2023, in the hopes to get it done early in the year. So we will see. You know, I don't submit plans like that until we're in them, and then honestly they could change. All right, this is my travel stitching. This is in my camper bag that I got from Gail, from Gail's Golden Needle. Thanks, Gail. I love this bag for my travel stitching. This is my Mill Hill Buttons and Beads Kit, Tree of Life. Tree of Life is apparently an image I like a lot because I have it tattooed on my arm. But here it got probably 5 or 6 threads in. So I worked more in the branches and filled in more of the trunk and put some more of the blue in. I would like to get to the point where I'm getting some beading done. Yep, this is all filled in here. I know it looks like the color of the paper, but this is all filled in here. But yes, I'd like, so this is the one I'm toying with moving to my 25/7 piece. Because being a travel piece, it doesn't get a ton of stitching time, to be honest. I don't have kids that I'm carting back and forth to things anymore. So when I mean travel stitching, I really mean like my lunch hour. And honestly, stitching on my lunch is not a given. So there's that. I would like it to give it more consistent time. I would rather probably put a knitting piece in my travel plans, just because that I can do with or without magnification, and if it doesn't get a lot of work, it's not going to bother me. But having all these WIPs is starting to bother me, and I had a new start this week, and I have things I want to start and want to be stitching on, so I'd really like to get some of these things cleared up. But that's where I'm at. Overall, good progress for me for the week. But this may move in the new year. This may go into my 25/7 slot, and Lost No More may go into more of a daily, like full stitching chunk of time rotation. Okay, that's that. What else did I work on? I'll save my new start for last. I worked on, I did not give you the colors for this I showed you this last time as a plan and couldn't find my floss. It was right there in the doggone bag. Yeah, so I had sent a bunch of zippered pouches over to my daughter, and I think I said in the last Flosstube that I think maybe I left the floss in one of those bags. I didn't. It was right in with this. But this is A Quaker Christmas by Bygone Stitches. I'm stitching this. I said it was, I thought it was Lakeside Linen. It is not. It is 40 count Tycho by Picture This Plus. I am stitching this. This is how far I've gotten. So I think I made pretty decent progress on that this week. This I stitch in hand under magnification. I did put the hoop on. You can tell the hoop rings for a little while to see if that helped. I was having trouble with my hand. It did not, so I went back to stitching in hand. But this is how far I've gotten. I am stitching this with DMC 935, that is the green. I have Gentle Arts Gold Leaf, which is the gold, and Classic Colorworks Cherry Cobbler for my red. I like richer Christmas colors, so I'll show you that again. That's Christmas Quaker, Bygone Stitches. This may or may not get more love this week, I don't know. I'm still feeling Christmas, but I have another piece that I worked on that is giving me a little more, you know. Okay. This is the one that I've been in love with this week. This is my Royal Holiday. It's a Mirabilia. I'm stitching this with all the called for floss, all the called for beads. I'm not stitching it on the called for linen. When I started this, I saw somebody, and I wish I could remember who, started on a very dark green linen. This is 28 count. I believe it's an even weave. It's from Fabrics by Stephanie. I believe it's in the colorway Abyss. Let's see if I can get her right side up. Yep. Let's move this bag. See if I can. There we go. So I started in her dress, kind of in the middle. And then I decided I want to put a face on the piece. So the face got put on, I don't know, I believe it was sometime this summer during my stitching group on Wednesday nights. And then I followed that down because I wanted to finish the dress and work her way up. Of course, the reason I decided to do that, okay, full disclosure, right up here in her neck is a bunch of Whisper. Not a huge fan of working with Whisper. I'm getting better, but I'll work it in small chunks and then go somewhere else. So what I worked on the last couple of days was all in her dress, and actually all in her lower dress, because I watched Colette at the Highway Stitcher on one of her mirrors. She got all the outline of the dress done and then was just filling in spots. So I've worked in here to pull all this down because I had threads, so excuse the park threads. If you've been around long enough, you know I'm a notoriously bad counter. That's why I hang threads. So I outlined this, and I've been going in and filling in some of this. This is a huge chunk of color. I've been going in and doing huge chunks of color here. And I'm going to continue to work on our dress down. This is her knee. I started it somewhere in here. And I'm absolutely enjoying working on it. I stitched this in hand as well. My stitches look great. I'll even give you a close-up of those stitches. My stitches look awesome and even. So I'm going to continue to work on that in hand. That being said, I have all these plans. I'm ending a semester at work and I'm ending a semester in my school program. So everything really depends on, I say this, it's like a disclaimer every week right now. I have 3 weeks left in both. So progress on my crafts really depends on how much progress I make on those things. And quite honestly, the weather. Like today, it's supposed to be 58 degrees here. It's beautiful. I'd like to get outside. I have a lot to do to get ready for my baking day tomorrow. But I'd love to get outside today. It's supposed to be beautiful. The last WIP I worked on was my World of Disney. I'm stitching this on 28 count mushroom Lugana with the called for 2/1 stitch. I'm not going to tell you where I got this pattern because the place I got it from I do not believe had copyright, and they are also not in business anymore. But if you search for World of Disney pattern, you can find ones that have permission to produce this. And I believe you can find one that has like a greenish border on the outside. And you're not going to be able to even tell, I don't think, that I worked on it because I had kind of a build-up. I'm just moving my needle out of the way. Kind of a build-up of ninja stitches in Mickey's face. So that is what I worked on. And so you won't even be able to tell. I had all this done last time we talked. But I filled in, you can't even see them. There's a ton of ninja stitches in his face. And I spent an hour and a half yesterday filling in some of those ninja stitches. And then working those threads down through. And some of these park threads are from that. Working out. I'm trying to give this, as well as my other full coverages, a little more work, even if it's only for an hour, even if it's only for 50 stitches of ninja stitches. Because honestly, every little bit helps, and I do want them finished in my lifetime. So, yeah. I do think this might get a little more work today, probably tonight when I'm settled down for the afternoon or the evening and have time to stitch. This will probably get more work tonight. But yeah, liking it. I can't wait to get down into some of these vignettes that are here. If you look, so the one I dipped down into, you can't really see it very clearly, is this bird here. But I'd like to really just move over and do Dumbo. And then once you get into these are like little finishes. Like you can work these and get little finishes and then fill in and do some border, get another little finish. And I'd like to basically work down and then across. I thought initially I wanted to work across and then down, and I guess it doesn't matter, but I would like to work on vignettes and then move. I'm not, if you're interested in Royal Rose, I don't know, look several videos back, because some of my full coverage, I converted them to Royal Rose, and I thought that was going to really work for me. What I found, and I actually messaged, I think her name's Allison, that created Royal Rose, saying thank you for coming up with this, because it does seem like the progress is faster. And I think progress being faster is like a misnomer. It appears that your progress is faster because you're doing groups of stitches and you're finishing blocks. And yes, there's something about that appeals to me. However, the amount of thread that I have parked is totally stressful for me. So I'm not a thread parker anymore, except when it comes to counting. But I don't want 50 million threads hanging parked. It stresses me out, and it makes the stitching stressful for me, so that's what I don't want. I was grateful that I tried it, but I'm just going to go back to it's not extreme cross country that I do. It is cross country, but it's local, what I would call localized cross country. I actually think I stitch different than many people. I think probably stitch very similar to Suki, the brown-eyed stitcher, Jemima, except Jemima's, the rocking stitcher, stitches in hand. I have yet to figure out how to stitch full coverage in hand and keep my tension okay, and I don't know if that's because I'm doing 10 stitches. I'd love to be able to stitch my full coverage in hand, because I have found that I like my work like right here, which with a stand, it's very hard to get it right here, right exactly where I want it. So I'd love to stitch everything in hand. But I will be working on a full coverage other than Lost No More every week. All right, my new start, just because I decided, I was talking to Gail, and I decided I wanted to get a stocking into my rotation. I have some stocking patterns. I also have some stocking kits. This is a Dimensions Gold kit. This is being stitched on by Colette, the Highway Stitcher. Amy from Amy Loves Toads is stitching on this. And I fell in love with it and like it. I can tell you what I don't like about this is the crunchy Ada. Lost No More was Kit Ada, but that's Kit Ada that's from the 90s, so it's been worked with and it's softened up quite a bit. This is still fairly crunchy, and I'm stitching it on the Kit Ada with the Kit Floss. And I will say their paper patterns are better, easier to read. Their thread, the way it comes, is a pain in the butt. I ended up taking it all off and putting it on little thread drops. But the patterns are easier to read, and I did start it in the center on the Kit Ada. That's very crunchy. I do have some parked threads, so you'll have to just deal with those. Let me get them out of the way here. And there's my start. Is that the right way? Yes. So this is in this bobble right here. And I don't know if I'll work on this anymore this holiday season or not. It really depends on my mood. But I did want to get it started so it can start going into my rotation. Christmas stockings will be in my rotation. Okay, I have one more WIP. It's a knitting WIP. Everything's falling. And then we will talk about modern folk embroidery a little bit, and I'll try to answer some questions with that. And then we'll just talk, I guess, about plans. So, I had been working on a pair of socks, and if you've been around for a while, you've seen these socks. I was knitting them well, kind of together, kind of separate. Do you know what I mean? This is with Forbidden Fiber Co. yarn. It is in the colorway, yep, I do have it. Forbidden Fiber Co. It is in the colorway Fortitude. Forbidden Fiber Co. Just so you have that. Love her yarns. I was in her Yarn of the Month club for a while until I got so much yarn that I wasn't sure what to do with it all. I don't knit socks very fast, and if you've been around for a while, you know that, because this pair of socks has been around here forever. But let me just tell you, story. This sock here, I had gotten almost done to close the toe. And then I looked at the sock, and I don't know if I measured wrong, but the sock was nowhere long enough to fit any foot that I know. So I had to, and because I hate ripping out knitting, and I'm not good at ripping out knitting, I kind of put it in timeout and just kind of left it there. Well, then I'm watching Crazy Sock Lady on YouTube, which I love watching her channel. If you knit and you like socks, you should watch her channel because it's really good. And I was feeling the sock bug again. So I brought these out yesterday. I think it was yesterday morning. Yes, Friday morning. I've been off. I worked Monday and Tuesday, and I've been off since then, so I'm losing track of the days, as you can tell. Much needed time off, just saying. I ripped out the toe, and I've got it back, and I'm knitting Magic Loop method. If you're not familiar with Magic Loop with socks, if you search on YouTube for Magic Loop for socks or go to Crazy Sock Lady's channel, and she has a tutorial, it is much easier than fiddling, in my opinion, than fiddling with the DPNs, the double pointed needles. So if you're an old knitter like I was and all you knew was the DPNs, this is a much nicer way. But there you go. I've probably got another, I want to say another inch and a half, and then I will close the toe. Maybe less than that. And then I'm going to go working on the other one, which is almost to the, this might be to the heel. Let me see. I put these markers in every 10 rows so I can make both socks the same length. That's a tip I learned from Crazy Sock Lady. Not quite to the heel. Oh, no, I am to the heel flap. So this one's ready to start the heel flap on. That's this part. For those of you that aren't familiar with socks and the knitting, that's this part. And this pair is for me. My first pair of knitted socks I gave to my daughter Courtney, because she was just oohing and ahhing on them every time I worked on them. Gave them to her. They're probably not the best socks, and they're probably falling apart by now. But this is only my second pair of socks, and this is for me. And then I have lots of sock yarn. As I said, I was in her Yarn of the Month club. And I think I'm just going to keep casting on socks. I might do pops of color at the heel and at the cuff, and maybe at the toe to change it up a little bit. But I'd like to be able to knit these more efficiently and faster. They are kind of fun. So I'm going to keep, this is what I'm trying to decide. Like, for my travel project, would it just be better to have something like this that I don't have to think so much about? I'm kind of defaulting to yes. I don't have to think so much about it as long as I'm knitting like the ribbing, the leg of the sock, the heel I kind of have to think about, and the toe decrease I have to think about still. But the more I knit, the more comfortable I will get with that, and maybe that will be better. So that's my toying with the ideas for the 2023. You know, if you've been around here long enough, you know I try to reevaluate things. If they're not working, if my crafting's not feeling good, I will reevaluate to make it work. And I do think that knitting makes a better travel project for me. Stitching is not something I can do with the car. Knitting is something I can do in the car. So it just makes more sense. So I think knitting is going to end up being my travel project. And that Mill Hill is going to go into my 25/7 piece. And the more I talk about it, and the more it makes sense. And then Lost No More will go into my daily, weekly rotations. Probably remain in my daily, weekly rotations until it's done. So let's pull out Modern Folk Embroidery. I feel like I've talked forever. I'm committed to doing this every week. To the point where I think it annoys my husband sometimes because we race home. Like today we went grocery shopping after breakfast and we raced home. We did some shopping at a local store for Small Business Saturday. And then we raced home and I'm immediately getting ready to do my Flosstube because I know if I get into other things, then I'm not going to do it. It's kind of like the exercise thing. Except I really like interacting with you guys. All right, let's look at this Big Mama Jama. This is Modern Folk Embroidery. Just to clarify, this frame was made by me, by my husband, more specifically painted by me, distressed by me. It was painted in a bright blue chalk paint and it was coated in a black wax. That's why you see definition here to the degree that you see it, because we coated it with some black wax. This piece was stitched on 36 count porcelain linen by Lakeside Linen. It was stitched. So the dark blue is DMC 923. Now let's talk about the dark blue here for a second. There are spots that I stitched 2 over 2 and there are spots that I stitched 1 over 2. So for example, in this motif, the birds in the main stem, the birds were stitched 2 over 2. The blue in these leaves was stitched 1 over 2. And I did that to get dimension in each of the medallions in the piece. There is gray. This is DMC 3799, and you'll find that here. You'll find that our letters are in the 3799. The squirrels are 3799. Sorry, I have to keep looking. The vase here is in 3799. This bowl here and this vase here, all in 37.99, stitched 2 over 2. Okay. So far we have DMC 923 stitched either 2 over 2 or 1 over 2, depending on where it is in the piece, and DMC 37.99 stitched 2 over 2. The variegated floss that is contained through the rest of this piece is a sulky thread. Let me grab it. It is sulky 12 weight thread in the colorway Peacock, and I'm going to give you the number and then I'm going to show the number. Number's 4016 is a sulky cotton number 12 blendable, and here I'm going to show you. I loved it on 36 count, 1 over 2. It was perfect coverage. I feel like sulky 12 weights are a perfect coverage for 36 count fabric. And this is coming from a girl that normally stitches 2 over 2 on 36 count until very recently. Trying to remember what I've started lately that was 1 over 2 on 36 count. Oh, my Christmas list. A lot of that is 1 over 2 on 36 count, but the lettering is 2 over 2 on 36 count. And same thing to get dimension in the piece. So 1 over 2 is not going to give you the solid coverage, but 2 over 2 will. And that's on hand over-dye fabric. So if you've seen that in the recent video, I'll try to remember. I don't have it in here right now. Otherwise, I'd pull it out and show it to you. I'll try to remember to bring that out next time, and I'll show you the difference between the 1 over 2 and the 2 over 2. I just find that it adds some dimension to the piece. And full disclosure, I started this piece with the called for DMC recommended by Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery. I was not enjoying it, and I was doing it on 40 count. I'm not enjoying it at all. I was in Gail and Gail's Gold Needle and I get together via Zoom early every Sunday morning, at least every Sunday morning that we can, to stitch. And she and I were talking about it, and I just wasn't enjoying it. I had not gotten a good start. I think I had done this corner piece only and decided to restart. This color palette is very much my wheelhouse. I like greens and blues. If you can tell, well, the walls in here are kind of a greeny tan. But I have robin's egg blue in my living room and a sage green in my kitchen. It's just my thing. This looks perfect in my living room, by the way, on those robin's egg blue walls. It's a very light robin's egg blue, by the way. But it's just perfect. And once I switched my colors and got going on it, it wasn't hard. I mean, I'm really surprised that I finished it late, like I told you guys. I finished it about a month late. It wasn't until late January of 2022 that I finished it, and this was the Modern Folk Embroidery sale for 2021. So about a month late. I'm not really good at keeping up with sales, so that is really good for me. But this is the blendable that I use. I love sulky blendables. I used a sulky blendable in my Emily's house for the moon. It was called for as well. And I really kind of fell in love with it then. And this just happened to come together for me for this one. So it's great. Jacob has announced his 2023 Modern Folk Embroidery sale. Let's see if I can pull this up. And, you know, I debated, I do feel like that sale that I did it in 2021 did commandeer a ton of stitching time. And many of my other pieces didn't get touched at all in 2021 because of that. So I'm not really wanting to jump on another sale of that degree. However, he did announce a sale for 2023. I'm trying to get to the design. The design of this one measures 251 crosses wide by 382 crosses high. It has the same measurements as the Fruits of Plenty, which is the one I just showed you. So it's just as large. Let me see if I can show you a picture. I'm just not... I don't know if I'm a fan, I guess. I did reach out to Gail about it. We're still doing the Wood Sunday sale. This isn't what I would call my favorite of the sales that have been done. I think if I were going to do another one, I would probably go back and do some of the older ones that I didn't do. But like, was this one? Hold on. This was the one from 2020. I think I would have rather have done this one. That was the 2020. I would have done it a different colorway. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to do the 2023 one. That being said, you know, my plans change all the time. I can't even tell you how often they change. If I could figure out a different colorway that maybe appealed to me more, I might stitch it just because of the colorway. Maybe I make it a companion piece to Fruits of Plenty. That's a thing. Let's see. I have, because I was afraid of running out of the sulky during Fruits of Plenty, I have 2 full spools, and I didn't even use 1 full spool for Fruits of Plenty. So I could easily make it a companion piece. I'm just not sure that I want to get that neck deep into another sal. It's hard. because I could easily make it color-wise a companion piece, and there are customizable pieces to the sale as well, the 2023 sale. So things, yeah. I don't know. I guess if somebody was really interested in doing it, I might consider it. But otherwise, I think it's a no for right now. Now that I'm talking about it with you guys. Thanks for your input. I really appreciate it. I know you're all screaming at me on the screen, right? Don't do it. Don't do it. Work on your WIPs. Work on your WIPs. I have identified 23 WIPs to work on for 2023. And so far, I'm trying to see if I can cross any of them off that I finished them. Oh, I can cross one off because I'm not doing that one anymore. But yeah. So we'll see. Otherwise, I'd enjoy any input. Forgive me for not commenting on your comments yet. I'm going to try to go through and do that sometime this week. And but hopefully I've given you all the information that you need for my Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 sale of Fruits of Plenty, DMC 923, DMC 3799, and Sulky in the colorway Peacock. If you missed the number, scroll back in this video because I showed it for you. I'm not good at putting things in the show notes, so don't look down there before. You're better off just asking me. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate all the feedback, and it is just nice to know that other people are just as crazy as I am. So you all have a great day, and I'll see you next week.